Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really sorry that I'm speaking in English. I'm not able to speak in French, neither Spanish nor Catalan. But in future, I will try to do this. And as you know, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to be here and represent the women of Afghanistan. And it's an honor for me to be among you here in Barcelona and tell the reality of Afghan women's situation, how they are suffering in Afghanistan, a country that has been in 30 years of war. I'm not a doctor, but I will try my best to elaborate on the topic that has been given to me to talk about. So as before, I think it was, you are saying me you have only 20 minutes to talk. And I will try to finish within 20 minutes because sometimes when I'm going to start to talk about Afghanistan, I think even to talk for one day it's nothing because there are many things to be shared with the women around the world, especially with the women activists regarding every field. But I will try my best to finish even before 20 minutes that we should have much space for the audience for their question and answer. I'm sure that women coming from Afghanistan, there might be many questions crossing your mind to ask. Well, as said by colleague before, that I'm the executive director of an organization named Humanitarian Assistance for Women and Children of Afghanistan, that we are providing humanitarian services within the country, around the country, for the women and children. And the most focused area that we are working, the big, or we can see the major area that HAWCA is working is protection and counseling, that we are protecting the victim of violence, sexual abuses and physical abuses, those especially the young girls, that we have different shelters, counseling and legal centers, mediation centers, and different these kind of activities just to protect victim of violence and sexual abuses cases. And at the same time, we are working on health and child care, capacity building, education and sponsorship and scholarship, and also cultural initiatives, sometimes emergency response operations. So these are the areas we are working, but the other area that HAWCA is mostly focusing to work is the women empowerment and economical sector, because we believe if women become independent economically, if they start to have their own earnings, I think their own income, at least there should be reduced in some kind of violence, because right now in Afghanistan, all women are dependent on the male member of the family. Even if they are facing different kind of violence, they have to bear, because economically they are unable to protect their children or to provide food for their children. And most of the cases that we are working for the victim of violence, for example, there is a woman and want to get divorced. According to our law, we cannot give divorce. A man has to give divorce for us. And when a woman is going and filing a case, and most of the time, if she even has a baby that's feeding the baby, like maybe 6 months, 7 months, the court decision is that the baby should give it to the father, because mother is economically unable to provide shelter, accommodation, food, these things. So this is why we connected our work between the empowering women in all sectors, especially in the economic sectors, and to protect these women. And the other area that HAWCA is really focusing and strongly involved in the country is lobbying and advocacy to advocate human rights of women and children, because in Afghanistan, women are suffering from all walks of life. We are facing different kind of discrimination and violence, not only from the household, from the society, from the culture, from the government, even I can see from the international community, and somehow that how women in Afghanistan being as a first victim of war since more than 3 decades. But what HAWCA is doing in this, that we made different committees that compose of international organizations, including some UN organizations and national grassroots organizations, especially women organizations, that we have to be a strong advocate tools for women who are struggling for their rights, but they are unable to go behind their doors. So there should be something for them that we are asking the government to implement all the international conventions that they are signatory with. They should implement international law. They should at least implement the constitution of Afghanistan, which implies of equal rights of men and women in some sectors at least. And on the other side, there should be amendments in the law, because we have many laws that they are in contradiction to each other. Each article is contradicting the other articles. Like especially with the Syria, Afghanistan is, after Saudi Arabia, is the only Islamic country that signed and ratified Syria without any reservation. But right now, when the time is come that the government has to report it, the government has to implement it, right now they are saying you are not agreeing with this article because they are against the Islamic Sharia, because they are against Islam and all these things. But in the beginning they thought, okay, it's better to be part of the UN, being UN members, so they just sign it without reading it. And right now this is the hard moment for the civil society, like grassroots organization for HAWCA, to convince the government, you have to report, you have to implement, you have to make all the laws for women in accordance to CEDAW and according to Afghanistan constitutions. But this is, you know, that a country that we have, that corruption is in its high peak, maybe we are in the third line of corruption in the world, and also composed of criminals and warlords and human rights violators that have been in power since 3 decades. And women were suffered, and almost we can see that even the infrastructure of Afghanistan has been destroyed at all. Having such government again, but what we are hearing, the propaganda from Western media and from national Afghanistan media, that like so-called democratic government of Afghanistan, we are providing freedom, we are giving, you know, women to enjoy their rights, because women can go for school, women can go to work, but the reality is different. I mean, the reality is totally reverse, because women are still suffering the same situation in Afghanistan as it was before. This is true that during the Taliban regime, maybe we were working at home, or we were totally banned from going outside. But right now, the challenges that we are facing to go out of the home, the security situation that we are, the insecurity that we are facing to go behind the door of our house, it's much difficult during the period that we have. And on the other side, because we have a government that is composed of those human rights violators and the most misogynist people, that they are not believing on human rights and women's rights. And here I just want to have a very quick review on the women's situation in Afghanistan, which I thought I choose the 4 critical areas that we also mentioned in the Beijing Plus 15 when I was in Philippines, the Beijing Platform for Action, the 12 critical areas. I think these four areas are the major areas that right now Afghan women are suffering. The first is peace and security. I mean, peace and security is such a broad aspect that affect the women in all other sectors of life. It affects education, it affects health, it affects even culturally and even socially, I mean economically. All other sectors is affected by this peace and security due to there is presence of all the international community, but they were failed to implement the strategies they have made, or somehow we can see about their wrong strategy, and instead of bringing security, they brought insecurity in Afghanistan, and anti-government bodies like Taliban, local warlords, they became more powerful to experience their power over the people of Afghanistan.